Hello and welcome. I'm Mariana Trapnell, President and Chief Excel Geek here at Accelerations. Now, as you know, we've been talking the last couple of weeks about the match formula. I'd like to come back to that and show you a couple more uses for it on its own. But first, let's talk about its counterpart, the index formula, or we could call it indexing and Igloo. All right, so I don't always call it that, but to be honest, with all the snow and cold temperatures here in Calgary, Igloo is definitely something that comes to mind this week. All right, so basically, the index formula returns a value or text from a grid of columns and rows. It looks for the specific value or text that is located at the address you give it via a row number and a column number. That's kind of like an Igloo, right? So you have columns and rows of ice blocks that are all lined up with a specific set of ice blocks to form the entire igloo. If the igloo builder, say, lost their mitten, but they know it's in the sixth block on the left from 3 rows up, you could count them to find the mitten and return it. Yeah, I know, I've got winter on the brain. What can I say? All right, so if we look at an example of numbers instead of igloos, we have a report that we pull every month which shows us business units across the top and account numbers down the rows. Similar to an igloo, we only care about the grid itself. So even if it had neighboring grids or igloos, we would only want to count the columns and rows of the grid we're interested in. So we don't care that this is the 4th column in Excel. We only care that it's the 2nd column in our grid. Okay, so let's number them 1, 2, and then I'm going to drag my drag handle across to automatically fill in 3, 4, and 5. And then likewise, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just going to highlight 4 and 5. And then again with the drag handle, double click it. And it's going to fill all the way down for any rows that are filled in. So now I've got my columns and rows numbered. All right, so let's say we want to use Excel to return the value in our grid, 79,363 for the central business unit and account number 6110. The basic format for an index formula is, of course, index, and then we tell it what range to look in, and then we give it a row number and a column number. So in this case, we're going to tell it to look in the range that starts at row 1 and column 1 based on the grid we're going to give it. And we want it to go and find the number that's at row 16 and in column 3. Okay, so let's try that. We're going to go index, open bracket, and then array is again where we want it to look. So we start in row 1, column 1 of the grid we've got numbered here. Okay, and I'm going to hold that constant by hitting F4 to put dollar signs in front of both the columns and the rows. And then I'm going to go comma, and this is where we tell it what row number to look in. So we decided we needed to look in row 16, right? That yellow row there, 16, and it's column number 3 that we care about. So I'm going to put a 3 in there. So that's basically the address of the ice blocks within our particular igloo. So I'm going to close bracket, hit enter, and sure enough, it returns the 79,363. All right, so obviously that's a very basic formula and very manual to create, but it forms the building blocks, if you will, of our particular index formula that we're going to expand on in a future video. All right, so that being said, there's our red mitten in the igloo, but please leave a comment or drop me a line at mariana@accelerations.com. And I'd love to know, are you finding these videos helpful? Are they useful for you? Do you have any suggestions of other topics you'd like me to cover in future videos? And most importantly, have you tried the match formula from last week yet? And how did it go? Did you run into any issues, or did it work perfectly like a charm? Anyway, that's it for this week, and please stay tuned for next week's video to follow up on this index formula. Thanks, and have a great week.